Okay.
Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Canis, and I am again recording from the road. It's been a busy week. This time, I am recording from my beloved CPCU annual meeting or Inter-Risk this year in San Francisco. And today, I have with me Jim Caragher. I didn't ask you how to pronounce your last name. Caragher?
Yep. Got it. You got it.
Perfect,
Carragher.
perfect. Perfect. And Jim, uh, we connected several years ago, and I think we chatted on the phone maybe once or twice, but I don't think I've actually ran into you in person. And
Right.
uh, somehow, basically, I reached out like 3 weeks ago, and I'm like, how come we've never had you on the podcast? Like it's a great oversight on our part. So my apology. As I was telling you before we started recruiting, before we started recording, I'm a carrier type guy. I've done a lot of work in the broker space, especially helping them recruit account managers. But I don't really do producers. I mean, I could, but I have no expertise on it. And it seems to me that most agencies, brokerages, and even the big guys don't really know how to help their young producers be successful. They mostly grow by acquisition, right? And out of my huge network of 21,000 insurance people on LinkedIn, you're the only one that is always talking about this problem and how to recruit and how to grow our young producers. So I'm so glad to get you on the podcast because this is a hugely important topic. So
Right.
um, looking at your LinkedIn, you actually spent a long time in the carrier space, right? So
Yes.
so 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 as a former carrier executive, how did you end up being kind of the go-to guy for producer recruiting?
Well, I'm a recovering underwriter. I was a career underwriter, kind of up the ranks, commercial underwriting, and made it into executive ranks. And this business I run now, CIB Group, which you're correct, we focus 100% on recruiting new producers into the commercial insurance broker career, mainly commercial P&C, but also group benefits producers and independent agents and brokers across the country. This was a vendor relationship of mine. So when I was at Selective Insurance, I was running home office marketing agency relationships. And the guy who started this company 20 years ago, I always, connected with him well. And at some point, we reconnected. I had exited Selective, gone off to another company on an adventure that didn't end particularly well. I got sold into service with a company that I didn't really want to work for. So anyway, long story short, I made this midlife segue, entrepreneurial segue. The guy who started the company was looking to drive around the country in a Winnebago. He was in his 70s at that point. I was like, you know what? I'm looking to get out of insurance carrier ranks, do something a little more small venture type of thing. And I believe in the industry. It's an important industry. It's been great to me. It's been great to a lot of people. And the industry needs more salespeople. And our whole model, our whole pitch to our clients, if you will, is you can only steal so many people from each other. I mean, there's only so many producers you can poach from place to place, and that's part
Mm-hmm.
of your sales force plan, I suppose. But it's pretty tough. They're expensive hires. People have non-competes. There's a lot of baggage. So our whole pitch is, you know what? Why don't we strengthen our industry? Go fishing in a big ocean of salespeople outside the industry. Find people who are great at selling copiers, software, office supplies, technology, whatever. I mean, the sales acumen and skills are what you need, and bring people in and help them learn insurance and risk management. Those are all, and you got lots of people to help them with that. So as long as you have a team selling approach, you should be able to take somebody who's a great salesperson in another industry and help them learn the insurance business and become an insurance producer. It's not a perfect science, but that's the model we advocate. So
Okay,
go
and
fish some young people up from other
so
industries.
when you're calling on B2B salespeople from other industries, I
Right.
kind of imagine that part of it to be a somewhat easy sale, but a weird sale. So what I mean by somewhat easy sale, hey, you're successfully selling B2B. Here's an industry you've never thought of that has the magic of renewal, right? And there are
Yeah,
plenty of brokers out there who are making $500,000 a year, $1,000,000 a year. I know brokers that wake up on January 1st and they've made $1,000,000 a year. All they have to do is keep the business they already have, right? But at the same time, for every one of those that survived, there were probably 900, if not 999, that started this path to become a commercial insurance producer that did not make it, right?
right.
So the magic of renewals, but the survival rate is low. So how how do you help the agents that you work with make sure that survival rate is a lot higher? So you mentioned the team selling approach. That's interesting.
Right, right. Yeah.
Um, when you start working with them, do they already have a team selling approach, or do you have to come in and often like teach them the team selling approach?
No, I find that I mean I can give advice certainly on how to help improve the odds with somebody new coming in from out of industry into your brokerage operation. But I find the most of the clients we have the most success with, they already have kind of figured out, all right, we have a sales process, number one. We have a culture. We have a process we could show someone how we win, how we compete for business. And it's actually a learnable, trainable process. And we know how to show people how to do it and shadow with experienced people and so forth. So that part we kind of count on the broker to figure out if they haven't already how to do that, and because to have somebody brand new come in here and try and like just parachute in and figure it out on their own, that's you know that's where you have a high failure rate. And it's interesting. I mean, I get a lot of debate, and I've done a lot of posting about this on LinkedIn about the whole failure rate versus success rate. And I think talking to people in other industries who hire salespeople, there's a high turnover rate and a high failure rate in every industry for salespeople. So I don't know why we flog ourselves so much in the insurance business. I mean, the fact that people can't do this and they fail, people fail at every line of work in sales. It's hard. And I think business insurance, you made a good point there. When we send candidates into an insurance broker, for the most part, if they've been out selling copiers or payroll for a living, they've never gone into a commercial insurance agency before. They don't even know what it is. I mean, they may have driven by, the agency in their city 100 times, but they don't know what's going on there. And they go in there and it's like, well, what the hell is this? It's just a nice white collar professional. It feels like a consulting firm. I feel like I could be working for a law firm or a high end accounting firm. That's what it feels like inside. And yet, people have never heard of this career. And then they go in and they're like, all right, this sounds great. I'm not going to be selling life insurance and annuities at my friend's kitchen table on a Friday night. That's great. This is B2B. I like that. And renewals. I mean, you tell them about renewals. That's our secret potion. The problem is, you're right. I mean, they'll meet that $1 million producer, the guy who's making, and some of these producers, you're right, they have $2-3 million books of business. So if somebody's got a W-2 income of $600,000-$700,000, they meet, the new potential producer meets that guy. They'll come back and tell me, I mean, I want to be that guy. I want to make $700,000 a year. I said, well, yeah, but you're kind of joining the story in progress here. I mean, that guy wasn't making that kind of money at the beginning. I mean, the first year, 3-5 years of this, it's a crappy job. That guy probably second, third, fourth thought about quitting throughout those early years. I mean, it's a terrible industry to start in. So I think we got to try and start fixing kind of how people start in it. You can't make it easy, but you got to make it more attractive to people. And I think I wrote a post the other day about like a matching grant program. I think a lot of insurance brokers have house accounts. They've got producers who are going to retire or have retired. You need to start to create programs where if you bring in somebody new, they write a new account, you ought to have a matching grant. Like, all right, you sold an account, here's an existing house account. Let's go out and have you take that over.
Oh, I like that.
We got to make it, you got to lubricate the process a bit to make it easier for people to stick to it during the lean years at the beginning, or else we're going to lose them
I,
to medical devices or some sizzly. I mean, tech. You don't have to go on LinkedIn very long to see all the tech layoffs. So tech may not be as attractive to people, but still, they're naturally salespeople are naturally drawn toward technology, medical devices, software. They're not running toward insurance. They think we're all life insurance
absolutely, absolutely. So I very interesting. I love that matching, the matching grant idea.
Right.
I I have a theory, and this is completely untested because I've never been a broker. But I have a theory that it has become harder to attract young people into brokerage because of student loans. So basically, if I'm a millennial or now a Gen Zer graduating with 50, 60, 70 grand of student loans, uh, and my options are become a commercialized broker and potentially make $1 million a year 10 years from now. But right now, very little guaranteed, and a validation period of 3 years where I start getting paid less and less each year. Or I can take, in a hot economy, I can take a guaranteed base of 55 or 60.
Right.
It's going to be very hard not to take that guaranteed base of 55 or 60, right? And I think the 3 year validation period is too short for a generation with student loans. But again, that's completely theoretical on my end. So I don't know. Have you seen brokerages kind of successfully changing their traditional model in order to
Yes.
better work with the newer generation? What is working?
Yes, and I'd say it's. I mean, the student loan debt is, I guess, part of that challenge. I'm not sure that specifically is a huge driving force, but it's a contributing factor. Certainly, the cost of everything is much higher, and not even just the recent couple of years. It's just life's expensive, and there are other industries, like I said, competing for the same people, and a lot of them can offer just stronger front money, faster, easier money than we can. So I think our clients are starting to recognize, and I've sort of pushed on the whole 3 year validation model. I'm not sure where the 3 year number came from, frankly. I just sort of, it's one of those kind of historical vestiges. I don't know where
It's
it came
always
from. I don't know what the origin. It's kind of always been 3 years. I don't know. So I think as we're starting to push the higher end starting salaries for new producers in our model without a book of business, I'm telling people, look, you may have to stretch toward like 75, 80 salary. You may have to set that as a floor and say, you know what, it's frankly easier to give people that as a floor and pay them partial new business commission for 4 years and let them scramble like hell and give them some taste of victory along the way with partial new business commission, but give them a solid base so they can afford to do this. Because you don't want people doing this always thinking at the end of the day, you know what, I'll look on my LinkedIn and see what jobs are out there. Maybe I'll go on Indeed, see if there's some easy sales job I can do and make 100 instead of 60. you have to kind of overpay, I think, for the talent and give people more tastes of victory along the way and give them a solid floor. This whole declining salary model thing doesn't really work either. It just doesn't. The whole idea you can kind of make somebody's salary drop after 1 year because it gets replaced by renewal commissions. They don't have any renewals at the end of the year. The renewals don't kick in if they're great. They don't kick in until like the 15th, 16th, 17th month in this. That's if they're brilliant and they pick up some new accounts in their first, 4th or 5th month doing this. So yeah, you can't just start dropping their salary after a year. That's a prescription for running somebody out of your company.
Yeah, are you finding that the majority of brokerages are open-minded to the idea of a guaranteed 70 to 80 base?
No, of course not. No, they don't want to pay anything. They'd rather pay salary plus a lot more commission. And I get that. I just think the reality is, I mean, I think most firms are realistic now. If you're going to invest in new producers, whether you pay them 50 plus full commission or pay them 80 plus partial commission, ultimately you're going to know a lot in 6 months, and so is this person, whether or not they really are gravitating toward this or they're showing enough traction to build a pipeline. You're going to know a lot. So the differential in what you pay somebody, cheap model versus an attractive model, you're annualizing a number that you may not even get to a year, because mutually between you and the candidate, you may decide, what, this is the best fit. Or people do get to the other side, despite my brilliant vetting process, Tony. They don't like doing this, or they find out they don't want to be insurance producers. Even ones that are doing well decide they want to go do something else. I mean, it's hard to lock people into a career decision through an interview process and a hiring process. Yeah, people don't know what the hell they want to do until they get into it. How could you possibly explain to people? There's a few things I try not to explain to people who are going to be potential producers, like what underwriters are. I mean, that's like I don't want to explain like a broker record letter and accounting managing letter. That's too complicated. People don't want to hear about that. Have you ever heard the word countermanding anywhere other than insurance, Tony? I mean, what the hell is that word? Do you want to explain hard market versus soft market to somebody new considering this industry who's out selling copiers right now? I don't want to do that. So we can't tell them everything. They can't know everything about this coming in, nor can you know everything about any job or industry you jump into. So you got to be transparent, tell them as much as you can, but there's still a lot of surprises when people get into business insurance broking. You don't know who's going to really grasp this and be great at it. I wish I could say I'm an expert at it now after doing this so long and being your only connection who actually does producer recruiting. But the only thing I can say is the definition of expert that rings in my head is I've made every conceivable mistake in a very, very narrow field of study, recruiting salespeople into insurance. So, but now I'm talking too much. You got more questions, I'm sure.
So you posted a lot about not being a big believer in assessment. So
yeah.
if the assessments don't work, what works a little bit better? Is it really like we just have to find people who think they'll like sales and then just try them out?
No, I would say I'll kind of restate what you said. It's not like I don't believe in assessments. I don't believe in using assessments badly in a hiring process. And I think there's a lot of mistakes that agents and brokers use. They overweight assessments. They use them prematurely as a screening tool. And they use general behavioral assessments that I think just don't predict whether or not someone's going to be a successful producer in your particular agency. I don't know how you could take a $50 test and think that a generalized sales behavioral assessment based on personality and behavior is going to predict whether or not this particular human being is going to do well in your sales environment and culture. That's a stretch. So I think it's extra data points to use, and we use a couple of assessments with our clients. One is for cognitive ability, problem solving. That's I think a useful piece of information to know. Are they bright enough to learn insurance? And the other one we use is a sales call reluctance profile. It's a very specific skill. I mean, you want to make sure people know how to prospect. But I think limited use assessments for information you need to make sure they can be effective at the job, that's great. But to use general assessments, and I see some clients using, like if you don't have an Omnia score above 7, you don't qualify to work here. That just makes no sense to me. That's abdicating the decision to a model that is really, it's giving you the illusion of having some precise formula for hiring people, and I just don't think that works. You got to interview people. You got to I hate to say it, but you got to do the best you can interviewing people, background checks, find out what their history is. Are they used to winning? Do they have a good history of success in everything they've done? Find the best people you can, and then find people who can understand and accept your comp model, will work relatively cheap, and build a clientele and want to do that, and it makes sense. And you won't know a lot for sure until they're working for you for 6 months to a year. That's how it works. But that's not different than other industries, by the way. Like I said,
Okay.
you think ADP? You think ADP has perfect hiring history in their company for hiring payroll system? They do not. They hire a lot of people that don't work out, and you never hire somebody thinking it's going to fail. You hire people, and you're making a bet on all the information you have that it all makes sense, and you got to make more hires, frankly, and bake in some mistakes in your hiring, or you're never going to hire enough salespeople. Is the bottom line.
I have a theory that mentorship can make a difference. But again, this is an untested theory.
Huge.
But my thoughts are that the problem with mentoring programs in brokerage space is that if I am a successful broker, why would I spend my time helping the next kid build a book when I could be spending that time building my own book? So I think that there needs to be some sort of incentive. I think that there needs to be some skin in the game for the mentor. I don't know how to structure it, but in my mind, kind of like the matching grant idea, except like basically, how do we give the mentor skin in the game in the new book that's being built, in order for the mentor to have every incentive to properly mentor the new broker. Have you seen any models that really work, or any models that really don't work when it comes to mentoring programs at brokerages?
Yeah, I've seen models. I'm not sure I know if they work or not, but I think that the models I've seen have, and beyond just like some skin in the game, like compensation reward for a mentor to share, split the new business commission year one to help the new guy. To me, like where it works in brokers is where the money helps to make it worthwhile, but the mentor has to have some genuine interest in wanting to help somebody new and enjoy doing that. I mean, if they don't really like doing it, you're not gonna. I don't think that a taste of 15 or 20 points of commission on a new case to help somebody learn the ropes is going to do it. I don't think the money drives it. You got to have people who actually care about new producers and want to see them work out, and that's maybe a cultural thing. Maybe it's an individual thing within people inside a firm. But where that's missing, where you don't have like people helping the young people, there's not like everybody kind of on the same side of the table helping a new person, including the account manager, because really some account managers can kill a new producer if they want to. They can squash their dreams. So I always tell people we place, be nice to everybody, because those account managers can kill you. The marketing people, you need everybody to kind of be pulling for you, but it's a balancing act, and the firm has to set up the firm has to have a culture where they actually embrace new people coming in, and they see them as an important investment, and everybody kind of gets behind them and wants them to win. That's hard to do. I think it's hard to build an organic growth agency culture like that. That's why so many of them just keep selling. I mean, acquisition growth is it just seems easier, I guess, in the insurance business. Just staple gun agencies together, and it seems like easier work than hiring, developing new producers, and tolerating the pains of mentoring, training, developing, turnover. That's a lot of work. But the payoff, I mean, the ROI on payoff for a new producer, I mean, I've had clients tell me, I mean, if we get 1 out of 3 right and they validate, I mean, the economic payoff in terms of value of the firm on a new producer who's in the early foothills of the mountain and has a lot more capacity ahead, it's tremendous for the valuation of the firm. So organic growth is still an important part of the formula for successful insurance brokers. But acquisition growth just seems to be the flavor of the decade.
Yep. Okay. So what is your process like for an agency that's having trouble recruiting producers? By the way, agencies, if you're having trouble with account managers and you are friendly to remote, give me a call. But if you're having trouble getting producers, so what does it look like when they give you a call? How do you kind of underwrite who you want to work with, and how do you get to know them?
Sure.
In order to find them the people that are going to be successful there.
Yeah. Hey, can I segue though go down a rat hole on account managers remote for a few minutes? Yeah, because I don't do account managers. I tell clients all the time, look, I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm just going to recruit salespeople out of industry into insurance. That's what I do.
We do lots of account managers.
Yeah. So, and I said, look, there's lots of good firms that do account managers. That's just not my game. So, but I had an account manager find me. It was really good. And so I said, all right, I like this woman. She came vetted from somebody I knew. I said, okay, I'm going to go outside my lane here and just call around to clients I have worked with, active ones and ones I worked with, and say, all right, we got this woman, 20-year experienced woman, knows this system, Epic, blah, blah, blah. Here's her skill set. She needs a full remote opportunity because she's got a father who's ill, needs to have some flexibility, can come in your office occasionally if you're local, but she really would like a full remote. I thought that would be an easy peasy placement for me. And I got more resistance back, and nobody had any coherent reason why. It's like, well, we'd like to have people able to come in here, and she's out of state, she's a couple states away. I don't really follow that. I mean, it's not like it was even a different time zone. It was, why would it matter? And I thought we've proven the last 2 years the only good thing that came out of the pandemic was you could do this work anywhere.
Before the pandemic,
why are we shoehorning people in an office against their will?
There is a video.
And don't tell me there's a talent shortage. There isn't a talent shortage for account managers. There's a talent shortage for account managers who want to work for you in your office. That's what
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Before the pandemic, I posted a video where I said that if you're not remote friendly in insurance, you either have bad technology or bad management. And I stand by that. Post COVID, the technology piece has been fixed. Where we all have the technology to work remotely, because otherwise we would have gone out of business, right? We figured out real quick.
Right, exactly.
So the only option left is bad management, right? But there's a lot of that, especially in the agency space. And now I'm not saying that every agency should sell the office or non-renew their lease and go 100% remote. There are probably some agencies out there. So, for example, I can think of Barber Insurance, Santa Rosa, California. Their specialty is manufactured home. A lot of their people are older, fixed income. They come in and they pay their bill every month. Okay, you need somebody in the office for them. Okay, but the great majority of agencies, especially commercial lines, you don't. I'm sorry, but you don't. And you are shooting yourself in the foot, because what's happening more and more is other agencies, other carriers, and insurtechs are actively stealing your people away and offering them not only more money, but offering them working remote 100%. And I am one of those people. Yeah, I am one of those people that is actively. I partnered with a couple of insurtechs that are hiring a lot of account managers, and they pay well. Right. And those account managers are 100% remote. They work on top of the line, they work with bleeding edge systems that are a lot better than Epic and a lot better than Vertafore. And most importantly, they're 100% remote, right? So the barbarians are coming. They're going to steal your talent if you don't become 100% remote or very close to it. I just don't understand. Other than bad management, I can't explain why we're so against it if it works, right? Um,
Yeah, I don't know.
right.
It's a mystery to me, and I mean, the explanations I usually get sound like, well, we don't want to lose the cult. There's always some culture, it's some amorphous culture kind of a rationale, but it doesn't make any sense. And there's been no productivity issues from the people working remotely for the last 2 years. So it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And you're right. I mean, even beyond insurtechs, traditional brokers, I know we have some that have told me, some of my clients told me that we've lost account managers to people. We've lost them to brokers in Chicago, New York. Have decided, all right, we've run out of people to steal from our
Exactly.
competitors. We're going to go into the lower cost of living markets. Let's go hire somebody from an Oklahoma City broker, pay them 30% above prevailing salaries in
And it's a
Oklahoma City.
win-win.
It's still way cheaper than Chicago or New York
Yeah.
salaries. So
No,
yeah,
California, for California brokers, they can't afford people locally.
right.
They're getting to the point where they have no option but to go hunt in lower cost of living areas. And yeah, that's what you end up with. You end up with win-wins, where the person gets a significant raise and the labor is a lot cheaper for the agency. So yes, get good at remote account managers because you're going to be forced to go in that direction eventually.
Right. Right, that was a long sidebar. It had nothing to do with producers.
No, but very important sidebar. So my question was when a somebody watches this and gives you a call and they're like, hey Jim, saw you on Property and Risk, and we need producers. What is your process? How do you get to know them in order to figure out who's going to be a good fit in their environment?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I usually just I talk to people and I kind of get a sense for what's their history been, what's been their tragic tale of past producer failures and misfits, and that's usually what I hear and what they're trying to accomplish. And I just want to try and see if it's realistic and they seem like good people. I have the kind of a whole filtering system of criteria, but it really comes down to I want to feel really good about marketing on behalf of a company and a person who's the hiring manager. Because really, I've discovered it took me longer than I thought than it should have to discover this. But I'm a far more brilliant recruiter if I actually really like the hiring manager. I think the company's great. I think people going in there are going to come out and tell me on a debrief call like, wow, these people are great. They're used to winning. I like it. It seems positive. It's not a gulag. If that's not if that's not the way it is, I mean, I'm a really terrible recruiter when the opportunity, the firm, the hiring manager are not attractive. It's and this as a recruiter, it's a death march at that point. It's terrible. So I'm just trying to find out if they're good people, if they have a good plan, are they realistic about what they want to pay somebody. I still get some people call me up and say, well, nobody paid me any salary at the beginning. I want to do a commission only 1099. I say, well, best of luck. that's a DQ for me. I can't do it. I don't know how you do it in any economy, but certainly not in this one. You're not going to get anybody you'd want to get doing business insurance broking on a commission only 1099 basis. That's madness.
Absolutely crazy, 100%. There is some research that you've been quoting recently. There's a report. I can't remember the name, but tell us about that report. And I saw that it's a paid, like it's behind a paywall of some sort. So why should agencies go ahead and buy it?
Are you talking about the best practices study, the big
yes,
Reagan study? Yeah,
yes, the Reagan study.
Yeah, I don't think it's behind a paywall. I get in there. I don't pay for it. I refuse to pay Reagan for it. I see it for free. There's a link. Maybe I'll have to post the link. It's a pretty good. I don't know. There's a lot of data in there, not only about new producers. I mean, I drill into the new producer data and the producer validation information, and there's compensation information is I think valuable to look at. But there's a ton of information about operations, about account managers, staffing, lots of different information. It's and then they put it out every year, so you can kind of see some trends year to year. You can see them. They do highlight what some of the hot issues are of the year. It's good basic benchmarking information for brokers to access. Yeah, I think you
Okay,
can get in it without
apparently,
paying, Tony.
yeah, apparently I
Yeah.
wasn't
Maybe,
smart enough
maybe
to
you're
figure out the link.
blocked.
So send me the link, and I'll include it with the show
I'll,
notes. And
I'll, I'll, I'll do
I'd
that.
love to read it. Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. It's been super interesting. It's such a it was surprising to me how it is similar to other sales roles. I never really thought about that. I always kind of assumed that because we sell a weird product that nobody thinks about until last second, and that nobody wants to buy, basically.
Right.
I always assumed that it was a very different process for us to hire salespeople than for like medical devices or other kind of more sexy sales roles. So that was interesting, and in general, just great to hear what it's looking like on that side, and to see that we're kind of on the same page with a lot of things, even though like my understanding of the broker side is very theoretical, since I've never actually worked in a brokerage.
Right.
Or like I haven't done a lot of recruiting for brokerages other than account managers. So thank you for filling in the blanks of my understanding. And I think
Sure.
for the listeners, half of my listeners are in the brokerage side. So I think for them this will be really, really valuable. And when it goes live, I will tag you on LinkedIn, and I'll tag CIB on
All right.
LinkedIn. So
Beautiful.
thank you so much for your time.
I'm easy to find on LinkedIn, and encourage people to follow me. And I do post a lot of content, really, because I post things I think are interesting about new producers. Sometimes it's just interesting to me, but I feel if it's interesting to me, somebody else might care. So I put a lot of content out there, and I'm just trying to help. To me, there's such opportunity to grow the sales force in our industry and take great people out of other businesses. I don't know why we don't think that way. Other businesses, other industries, and other are kind of naturally inclined to just try and steal people from other industries. We seem enamored with the concept that you have to know a lot of technical insurance to get into it and sell it. And ultimately you do. You need to be curious to learn it. You can't be stupid. You have to have enough curiosity to be able to learn about risk management insurance. But you need salespeople. That's what you need. You need people to create. If you can't open doors and create some relationships and get in to see prospects, I mean, nobody particularly cares. Nobody's ever going to find out if you know what a workers' compensation class code is or can explain co-insurance if you can't prospect and get appointments. That's the basic first step in sales.
You're going to need awesome account managers who are very knowledgeable either way. Whether you're knowledgeable or not, you're going to need a great account management team. But somebody to open the door and get the business owner to let you look at their insurance without that, we need to get at bats, right? If we don't get at bats, regardless of how good the rest of the agency is, we can't sell. So we can figure out the rep.
Exactly.
But
I have people we've placed that have produced incredible large accounts who are in the business, 90 days, 120 days. And some of that's just fortuitous timing. They got to the right door at the right time, but they certainly don't bring in at 90 days any kind of expertise or knowledge. They're bringing it all with them. There's a team behind them that's filling in the hole, which is it's entirely a hole of knowledge and information. They don't know business insurance and risk management at that point, but you can, if you got salespeople and you got enough people to shore them up, you can do tremendous things. And I don't know what the alternatives are for brokers, frankly. There's just not enough people in their 20s and 30s to steal from each other. At some point, you got to go out and fish them out of the ocean from other industries. And it's not a manned mission to Mars. You can do this, and you can build a firm and make your firm more valuable. So that's my commercial pitch, Tony. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity today.
Thank you very much for your time.